You know, the hunt for life beyond Earth, it's got to be one of the biggest questions out there, right? And for so long, all eyes have been on our dusty red neighbor, Mars. Well, something just dropped. A brand new discovery from the Curiosity rover that could be a huge piece of the puzzle. So let's get into it. So, what's the big question here? It's always been about this. Could the raw materials for life, the basic building blocks, still be hiding in the Martian dirt? Leftovers from a time billions of years ago when Mars was a much friendlier place?
Okay, so get this. The answer? It's a huge yes. Curiosity didn't just find some, it found a whole treasure chest full of them. And some of these are molecules we've never ever seen on Mars before.
All right, let's dive into what our little rover actually dug up. What did Curiosity find?
So this wasn't just one little find. We're talking about a whole mix of different organic molecules, stuff we've never spotted on Mars until now. We're seeing molecules with nitrogen, molecules with sulfur, things like benzothiophene. Now here on Earth, you'd find stuff like this in crude oil, for example. But, and this is cool, they're also super common in meteorites. And that's the kind of thing that makes scientists' ears perk up.
Okay, quick pause. We got to make sure we're on the same page. When you hear organic molecules, just think carbon. They're compounds built around carbon. Here on Earth, that's like the #1 sign of life. But, and this is a huge but, you can also get them from totally non-living things like weird geological reactions or even space rocks crashing down. That difference, it's everything in this story.
And check this out. This is what's really going to blow your mind. The rock where they found this stuff, it's estimated to be 3.5 billion years old. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. These chemicals have been locked away perfectly preserved in Martian rock for nearly as long as Earth has had life at all. That's just, wow, incredible.
So the next logical question is, how on Earth did they do this? I mean, the rover is millions of miles away. Well, that's where this amazing chemical experiment comes in. It was a brand new technique, something never tried before on Mars, all designed to try and unlock these ancient secrets.
And you really have to appreciate the long game Curiosity has been playing. This rover landed all the way back in 2012. It's just been chugging along doing its job. Then, in 2020, it got to this perfect spot called Glen Torridon. Why was it perfect? Well, it used to be a lake bed and it's packed with clay. And clay, as it turns out, is like a natural time capsule. It's amazing at protecting these delicate molecules from all that crazy radiation on Mars.
All right, now for the super clever part. It's called the TMAH experiment. Basically, they drilled into that clay rock. Then they added this chemical, TMAH. Here's the crazy thing, though. They only had 2 tiny cups of this stuff. For the entire mission, they had to be so sure this was the right rock to test. Talk about pressure, right? Then they heated it all up, and the TMAH acted like a key, unlocking the rock and releasing all those ancient molecules so the rover could see what was inside.
So this brings us to the real heart of the matter. Are these the building blocks of life? Let's try and connect the dots. And this is where it gets really exciting. Look at this. What we found in Mars, molecules with nitrogen, molecules with sulfur, like benzothiophene. Now look at what's key for life here on Earth. Those nitrogen molecules, they're basically precursors for DNA. And that sulfur stuff, that's the kind of thing that meteorites would have delivered to a baby Earth, seeding it with the right ingredients. So what does this mean? It means we found the same kinds of Lego bricks on Mars that likely built life right here. It's totally plausible that the same cosmic rain of materials that hit a young, wet Earth also hit a young, wet Mars.
But okay, hold on. We have to pump the brakes a little. This is where good science means being skeptical. We can't just jump to aliens. Which brings us to the big debate, life or geology. Where did these things actually come from?
Basically, you've got 2 camps. The biobiotic idea says these are chemical fossils, leftovers from ancient Martian microbes. The abiotic idea says, nope, they just came from regular old geology or got dropped off by meteorites. And the truth is, with the tools Curiosity has, we can't tell which one is right. Not yet.
But here's the thing that is a game changer. It's not about where they came from. It's about the fact they're there at all. The lead scientist, Dr. Amy Williams, summed it up perfectly. She basically said, hey, we're seeing organic matter that's been preserved for 3.5 billion years. This proves it can be done. So even if we don't know the origin, we know Mars can keep these records safe. That is a huge, huge deal for the search.
So what's next? Well, the search is definitely not over. In fact, this discovery is like a launch pad.
fueling the next wave of exploration.
And believe me, the hunt is on. Curiosity's buddy, the Perseverance rover, is up there right now doing exactly this kind of work. And future missions like the Rosalind Franklin rover and the awesome Dragonfly mission to Titan are going to have this same TMHA experiment on board. We're learning and we're building on what we found.
So, look, if you remember one thing from all this, make it this. We now have proof. It's not a theory anymore. Mars can and does preserve the complex stuff needed for life. The evidence is right there, locked in the rocks, waiting for us.
And that leaves us with a pretty massive question, doesn't it? If this is just the beginning, if we do one day find undeniable proof that life once existed on Mars, how does that change things? For all of us, what does that mean for our own little spot in the cosmos?